Hi everyone, Jen Keeler, Yoga Mama here, and we're going to begin today the first of 2 weeks of working with strengthening our root and our pelvic floor. So there are just a few supplies that I want to make sure that you have with you. The first one is a blanket, which we've talked about last week, just having any kind of blanket that's pretty thick and solid and can provide support underneath your knees. And for today, we're actually going to roll this up and use it underneath our chest as well. And then 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, then go ahead and use your chair, which is like this, Memsa. And a chair is going to help. We're going to be working with some stability poses and learning how to align our body appropriately. And we want the chair to help us find that stability before we release that effort. So a chair or 2 blocks and a blanket. Make sure you have a glass of water as well. And then we'll get started. Okay, so we're going to begin on the floor today. And we're going to take your blankets and make kind of a long Tootsie Roll. So you're going to want to roll up your blanket. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to create kind of a long tube. This one's a little stiff actually. So you can start with that. Bring your blocks out to the front of your mat just so they're available for you. And we're going to come to laying on our bellies. Go ahead and watch me for a second how I'm going to set this up. So this is a practice that is targeted to women. So we're going to be speaking about the anatomy of the pelvic floor for women and also discussing our breast tissue. But it is also very accessible for men. The same kind of movements, just thinking about your alternative anatomy, are very beneficial. So you're welcome to join us if you're a man. Don't feel like it's exclusive, but the language is specifically towards women's anatomy. Okay, so as we come down, sometimes it's nice to have this little horseshoe prop to support the chest so that you're not smashing your breasts or smashing your face. And this is called Makrasana crocodile pose. And the way we come into it is we're going to take our feet out to kind of the edges of the mat and lay down on our bellies. And this little horseshoe tube is going to come right above the breast tissue. And I'm going to take my elbows out in front of me. So they're in front of my shoulders, but not too far. My fingertips will be able to reach both elbows. And from this position, I'm going to go ahead and just simply rest my head on my forearms. Now, for a lot of people, you're going to need to wiggle a little bit to get comfortable. And this may not be super comfortable, so you can push your arms further. Can widen your hands a little bit, but the idea is that you have this space underneath your face that you can breathe and you can surrender, and it's a very passive back bend. Toes are turned out, feet are wider than hip distance, and just come into that position. So I'm going to come into kneeling while I guide you through this, just so that you can hear me a little bit better. But go ahead and get settled there on the mat and on the floor. Close your eyes if you can and take a couple of deep breaths, inhaling through the nose. A nice long sigh, exhale. And take one more. And sigh. And then allow your lips to fall together and find that breath. And for today, I want you to adopt an attitude of receiving. So as you're lying there on the mat, just open into the possibility that your practice is going to provide nourishment and receive the offering of the breath. So as you breathe, feel how that full inhalation creates a sensation of expansive quality in the belly. And then as you exhale, connect to that recession of the breath out of the belly and see how everything kind of compresses a little bit to the center. And you might imagine that like a balloon inflating in the abdomen. And you can really tune in this position to the sensation of the diaphragm at work here, where the diaphragm expands down into the abdomen. Your low back will be raising to the sky. And as you exhale, everything drops back. The diaphragm goes back up into the ribs and everything compresses. And so as you breathe there, imagine that inflation quality on the in-breath and the compression quality of the exhale. And on the in-breath, also imagine that breath reaching down into the pelvis, kind of opening the tissues of the pelvic bowl, the pelvic floor, feeling the tissues in the front between the hips opening and pressing into the earth, but also feeling the pelvic floor, the vaginal opening, all the tissues surrounding that, labia, and even the tissues in towards the anus and rectum, just opening up, and as you exhale, it recedes back. And so without aggression, we're going to continue breathing this way, feeling an expansive quality of the pelvic bowl on the in-breath, but adding at the very end of the exhale a little bit of lift and contraction at the root of the body. So you'll in-breathe and you'll open up those tissues, and as you exhale, you want to think about kind of lifting up towards the center of your torso. And then as you inhale, you relax that. So it wouldn't be visible to the naked eye, only you can feel those contractions. And you want to open into the receiving of the breath. And the breath is so beautiful. My students will tell you that I talk so much about the breath and all of its offerings. It's a very benign, very comforting and nourishing quality that you're opening in. So if there's any stories or trauma that you're gripping onto, just see if you can embed yourself in the breath. It's life-giving, light-providing, nourishing, and calming, particularly this breath that you're doing now. So draw your awareness now to the front in between your two hip bones and the space between your pubic bone and your navel. And as you exhale, as you inhale, go ahead and feel that inflation, but as you exhale, feel the contraction of that. And feel it lift towards the spine, almost lift away from the floor. And focus your awareness here just for a couple of breaths. And see if there's a lack of integrity or connection there. A lot of us have had cesareans here, any kind of scar tissue or surgery that you've had down in the lower abdomen. You might have a disconnect there. So this is just about awakening a connection and beginning to reclaim the space and strength. And now drift your attention further down towards the pubic bone, where you have the clitoris and the labia and your urethra. And as you exhale, go ahead and feel a gentle contraction of those tissues. And as you inhale, open up and release that, pressing in with the breath. So in and out. And again, noticing if anything shows up for you, if there's any kind of emotional discomfort. And if there is, being aware of it. Don't flee from that, but be aware of that and invite in the nourishment of the breath. It's very passive, very benign, non-judgmental breath. And then drop your attention down to the vaginal opening, and the same principle applying. So as you inhale, feel everything stretching open and relaxing gently. And as you exhale, gentle recession followed by that little bit of lift very at the end, closing and lifting. So in and out. Again, resting in the beauty of the breath. And then finally, drift your attention further back towards the anus, the opening of your bottom, and the rectum, which is the tube that comes up. So as you inhale, relaxing that open, and as you exhale, squeezing and lifting. And a little bit of glute tissue support. So your butt cheeks might even squeeze a little bit together. It's beautiful that you're doing this at home. You don't have to worry about anybody else. And if you're uncomfortable with it, it's just good information for you to be aware of so that you can let go of discomfort about your body. And then once more, return to the whole of the pelvic bowl, feeling the entirety of the bowl opening as you inhale and exhaling. And likely there was a part of your body or a part of that practice where you felt a little disconnect or a little uncomfortable, and you can let your attention rest there for practice so that you can build that relationship back up. So as you're ready, go ahead and bring your hands under your shoulders and then press back into an extended child's pose. And you can take your blanket now and fold it back up. Uh-oh, I think I have a puppy coming. Okay, hi Callie. So as you come onto hands and knees, take your knees a little bit wide and sink back into child's pose. And let your forehead relax down on the earth or a block if you can't quite reach the earth. And now we're just resting the pelvis open. So see if you can relax all effort. Sometimes in the effort of building pelvic floor strength and integrity, we actually overwork it and becomes kind of hypertense. Hi. And then otherwise we kind of ignore it when we don't think about that strength, or we continue on in our days using some of these workaround muscles. So go ahead and we got to learn how to relax and contract in this position. Callie, can you go on? Go on, bud. All right, so from child's pose, go ahead and inhale through table, tuck your toes and spread your feet on the earth. And we're just going to sink back into kind of an upright puppy. Just feel a little stretch in those feet, waking up of your feet, neutral neck. Part of our root and strong root is our feet and our legs. So we're going to work with those today. So as you inhale, keep those toes tucked. We're going to exhale back into down dog. And just find extension from hands to hips and hips to feet. And you'll notice my knees are bent, because the primary intention is length here. We'll inhale to tippy toes. And as you exhale, bend those knees, dropping down. And as you inhale, reach up, and exhale, sink those feet. And we'll just oscillate. The in-breath comes to tippy toes. The exhale either bends the knees or sinks the heels. In-breath, lift. Exhale, heels sink. And then walk your feet together, sinking the heels. As you inhale, we'll float back into plank. And just feel the strength. You're always welcome to drop your feet or knees down onto the earth and squeeze those thighs, whatever position you choose. Just about 3 to 5 breaths here. Take one more breath. And then as you exhale, I have to move my block, but you can exhale all the way down. Bring your elbows towards your ribs as you lower. And press the tops of the feet into the earth, and hands come by shoulders or breast tissue. Bring the elbows in, but really focus on now pressing your pubic bone down and lifting the pelvis even as we come in and out of our breath. So as you inhale, press the pubic bone down and feet, lifting into low cobra and lower down. And alternatively, you can also do cheek to cheek. So as you inhale, you turn the face to the right, turn the left cheek to the floor. But each in-breath begins with you pressing the pubic bone down, lifting the pelvis, and pushing the feet into the ground. So we can't go as deep in those poses. I'm not coming down as far just because I have that microphone. And then exhale all the way down on the belly. Shake your hips left and right. And inflate the low back, returning to that balloon breath one more time. And as you're ready, go ahead and roll over onto your back. So you're going to want to make sure that one of your blocks is available, or use a blanket roll. I'm still good. Yep. Seems good. All right, hug the knees into the chest. And lengthen that low back onto the floor. And go ahead and drop your feet down onto the earth. Make sure that the blanket is not underneath your heels, but you feel nice and solid. And your feet are going to be right underneath the kneecaps. And then take a block or a blanket roll in between your thighs and hold that there. And we're going to find that pelvic floor contraction again. As you inhale, feel everything open up. And as you exhale, squeeze the block and also squeeze the butt cheeks. You're going to feel adjacent recruiting muscles now. So we squeeze the block and the butt cheeks, and then the navel is going to sink down. And we'll just oscillate a little bit with that same sensation of movement, recruiting additional muscles to support a strong foundation. This helps us contain the vitality. One more breath. And now we're going to lift the hips off of the floor. Find that contraction and hold. Now see if you can pull the breath down into the pelvic bowl, even as you're holding that contraction. You still want to try and get energy and life force down into the pelvis. And then there's a point where you're going to notice that you're going to release, right? Which part of the pelvic floor gives up first, and draw all of your awareness there and allow that integrity to be present. Your mind's present there. Your effort is present there. You're not worrying about the other adjacent tissues. Take one more breath. And exhale, slowly lower down, remove the block. I'm going to lift the hips one more time and reach that right foot up towards the sky. like you're trying to step on the ceiling. So as you inhale, push into the foot, feel those legs ignite, and as you exhale, lower the low back down a little bit. And inhale, push, and exhale, release. It's hard for me to talk and breathe adequately. One more breath. Exhale down. Take that right ankle to left knee and open. You might stay here if you have really tight hips, or you can pull that left knee in towards the chest. This is a nice release. In whatever way this works for your body. Still a little bit of activation through this right foot here. And then lowering down, go ahead and come back into feet planted on the floor and lift the hips once more. Oops. My wireless mic does not like that. Okay, so come back onto the low back with hips on the floor. Pause. Okay, you can restart here. We're going to take that left leg now and lift it towards the sky. And then inhale, lift the hips up. So we'll reach on the in-breath, really pressing in the earth leg. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, lowering down. Inhale, lift. If this is too hard on your leg, you can bend that leg a little bit. My leg's a little shaky today. One more breath. Exhale, lower down. Take left ankle to right knee and pull the thighs in. And you can go as deep or shallow as feels right for your body. A little bit of activation now through that left foot. It creates stability in the hip joint as we stretch it. One more breath. All right, lowering the feet down. I'm going to take the feet to the left and right edge of the mat and take your arms, flatten the shoulder blades on the floor into cactus. So as you exhale, go ahead and press knees over to the right side. You're going to get a nice stretch across the hip flexors and the pelvis and the thighs, and just alternate. Inhale through center and exhale other side. Just go back and forth. A little asserted effort at the end of the stretch just to deepen it, but only in comfort, never going into that extreme stretch. We want mobility, but we don't want destabilization. All right, back into center. Go ahead and extend the body down onto the floor. We're going to roll over onto our bellies. Oops. And press back into down dog. So we're going to do a little bit of heating from this position. So if this doesn't feel good in down dog, you can come on to hands and knees and do the same movement from hands and knees if that's a little bit more attainable. Take the thighs together, so feet start at that center line, and the left foot, or right foot's going to lift rather, and toes and knees will point down. So there's a tendency to open. Just go ahead and keep the hips facing the floor and the toes. And as you exhale, pull right knee in towards chest and hollow. Inhale, thighs slide by each other. Exhale, pulling in, lift the pelvic floor. One more. Next, in exhalation, pull the knee into the chest and step that foot forward on the mat into low lunge. So we've been working with this quite a while, or the last week we did this, right? Be working with this again. So start with your low lunge and feel very stable here, and then as you're ready, lifting up into high lunge. So we're going to start with this, do a little oscillation here. This is exhale, inhale, exhale. Inhale, hands to hips, straighten front leg. Exhale, bend back knee. Inhale. Exhale, lunge. Inhale, hands to hips. Exhale, bent knee. Back knee. In and out. A little hard for me today. Last one back. One more inhale. Exhale into the pose. Stay for one full breath. And as you exhale, float the hands down to the earth. Left hand is going to anchor on the ground or your block. Long spine, pull the right knee in towards the core as the right palm comes to the sacrum, looking over the right shoulder. And just take some nice deep breaths here, pushing through the crown of the head and that back leg and sinking the right hip down a little bit. So really press into the earth with that front foot. Exhale, bring the hands down to the earth. Step back into down dog. And this time, go ahead and walk out your heels. So you feel this nice treading sensation, a little bit of softness in the hips. Left foot now, so thighs begin together. Inhale, left foot up, toes pointing down, knees pointing down. In breath, reach. Exhale, lift the pelvis and compress. 2 more like that. And then this time, use those same pelvic floor muscles and core muscles to step that foot forward on the mat. Lower the hips, find that beautiful low lunge, and then build from there. Gather up that root energy and lift. In breath, hands to hips, straighten leg. Ooh. Exhale, bend that back knee. This is actually good. Inhaling straight, exhale, bend. Try to stay as upright as you can. I'm leaning forward a little bit. See if you can work with me. And exhale back, scooping that pelvis under. I'm keeping my hands on my hips now. You're welcome to do that, or you can continue to lift. Last exhale, arms up. Nice deep breath. Exhale, float the hands down to the earth. Ground the right hand on the earth of the block. I'll show you the earth this time. And keep this knee over the ankle joint as you rotate left. And press through that back leg and the crown. And exhale, hands come down. This time step forward on the mat into hanging forward bend. Now take your feet hip distance apart and spread those toes out on the earth. And as you exhale, fold gently. And your hands can just dangle, let the upper body go. And you'll see my knees are slightly bent so that my back and my hamstrings get stretched. If I straighten up, my hamstrings really feel super tight. So you keep your knees a little bit soft so everything gets stretched out healthy. We're going to take our time coming to sky now. So we'll plant our feet and find the center of the feet. Pull the navel in, lift the pelvis, and slowly roll up. And pressing into the earth, bring the arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, draw hands to heart center, really pressing into the ground. Just a gentle lift here in the pelvic bowl to create support. So nothing aggressive again. In yoga, the first mention of asana, the physical movement, discusses how all asana, all movement, should be both nourishing and sweet, the sukham, like sugar, and filled with integrity and strength, the stiram. So sukham and stiram in each pose, all the movement reflected in that balance of effort and comfort. So we're going to do a little bit of a strong flow here. Make sure that you have your blocks available out front as you need them. So I'm going to turn my blocks perpendicular or have your chair out in front as you need it. So take your feet heel toe to the left and right edges of the mat. I'm sleeping my blanket. I don't need to worry about that right now. The ankles are going to stay above the heels in this. As you inhale, lift the heels off, let your gaze lift. And as you exhale, drop the hands and hips and heels down, toes lift. So in breath, slow progression upwards, strong ankles, exhaling down. And the next time we come in to the lift, let's come in and stay and hold for 3 breaths. Now gather up your pelvic floor and lift as well. See if that provides a little additional stability. One more in-breath. This time as we exhale, we'll bend the knees deeply, let the belly come between the thighs, and in-breath into a nice low chair. So arms come out in front of us, and we're coming into kind of a skier squat. Or also I said the public restroom squat. So we're building our strength in public situations. Breathe deep. So you're going to feel all this energy pressing into the center of the feet, a little bit of lift in the front of the pelvis. Nice deep breathing to generate warmth, bring circulation to the body. One more breath. Exhale, fold forward. Heel toe those feet to the center line, or at least behind the hips. Inhale, flat back, and as you exhale, fold, step that left foot back. We're going to drop the heel. So my hips, when I come up, are still going to be facing mostly forward. I'll adjust that stance so my left foot's off to the side just slightly, and I can rotate around a little bit better. Inhaling up into warrior three. Nice deep breathing. And press those feet down and apart from each other to really get that root integrity. Inhale, lift. Exhale, sweep those arms around. We're going to pull that left leg up to the sky. Now lifting through the front of the pelvis and extend that left leg out in front of you. Smooth, deep breath. And the more you push into your root and lift, the more stable you are. Last in breath. And as you exhale, float through into warrior three. I'm going to bring that left leg straight back. My hands are going to come down to my blocks. I got my little cheat sheet out here in front of me. So when I come into warrior three, you want to drop the left hip. Try to create a flat back. So the hips are parallel to the ground. You're pressing through the sole of the left foot, and the left inner thigh lifts. This is in-breath. As you inhale, I'm still light on my hands. This is just creating stability. As you inhale, lift. Exhale, take left knee to right calf and squat in that right leg. Inhale, lift. Exhale, keep feet planted as you squeeze those tissues. One more in-breath and out-breath. So good. Inhale, and this time as you exhale, go ahead and step wide on the mat and open into star pose. So nice deep breathing here. And reaching all the way into the earth, opening wide. This should feel really nourishing, really kind of energizing, full of vitality. One more in-breath. And as you exhale, turn the toes forward and fold down, hands under the shoulders. Spread the toes out on the earth. Inhale, lift, and as you exhale, fold nice and deep. Nice deep in-breath. A nice long exhale. This is a grounding pose. Try to keep your weight right over the center of the feet. Last breath. Just hang for a moment. So I'm going to walk over here and grab my blocks, bring them around to the other side of the mat, turn my left toes, and step that right foot off so that my hips can face around a little bit more. So my right foot is straight behind my right hip, and my left foot is in front of my left hip. So they're a little bit apart. If I were to draw a straight line, the left foot would be on the left side. The straight line would go right between the two. It's a little different than what Iyengar teaches, just because women tend to have a little bit wider hips. All right, pressing into the earth, rising on up into high warrior. So nice and strong. Nice deep in-breath. Pressing those feet apart. Really scooping up that pelvis so you've got lots of that earth energy. Exhale. Roll around. We're going to take that right foot this time through and extend out in front of you. I have a wall I can actually use. I don't know if that's actually in, but I'm going to use it. Nice deep breath. Inhale, and as you exhale, inhale, exhale, go ahead and come through to that warrior 3 position. Stabilize yourself. Use your blocks as you need to. Long spine. Inhale, reaching, and drop that right hip. My hip was pulled, so I'm going to pause for a second. That right hip down. Inhale, exhale, left knee to calf. Inhale, lift. Lift the pelvis as you squeeze. Exhale, exhale. One more. Exhale. One more inhalation. And this time as you exhale, go ahead and fold into forward bend. Soften your knees as much as you need to. We're going to take the index and middle fingers of our hands, loop them around the big toes, and pull a nice stretch. And this is only a stretch that feels very positive, very good. There's no burning sensation, no extreme. If your muscles are fighting you, chances are you're just pushing a little bit further beyond where your body's ready. One more exhale. Let it all go. All right, take your feet heel toe to the left and right edges. We're going to drop the hips on this side and open into that deep squat on the second side. This is kind of a modified chair pose, Utkatasana. Shoulders are down, pressing into the heels. So a little bit of light in the toes, building heat in those tissues. About 2 to 3 more breaths. Lifting the pelvis on that exhale. And then we'll fold the hands down, heel, toe, feet, so that they're hip distance apart. We're going to take the right foot and just step it back, not quite as far, and rise on up to standing. So you'll see that my hips are still facing the back of my mat here. I'm going to stagger them so that I feel really stable. So my right foot is turned in enough, but not completely towards the front. A little bit of stability offered, but my hips are able to shift forward. Keep your feet glued to the floor as you're doing this movement. Left hand to low back, inhaling, lift, and press into the heels. So as you lift the belly, you're going to feel that support in this pose and really breathe from feet to fingertips. One more breath in. And as you exhale, slowly start to descend towards the earth. Soften that left knee as much as you need to. Pause halfway. Inhale, reach further. And as you exhale, drop that right hand onto the block or the earth. Now, I'm a big advocate for these props so that you can get better alignment with your body, extend your reach, and just create more stability. It's not about giving up energy to the block, but to refine your posture. So you're welcome to stay here and work the depth of this pose, bringing head to knee, or you can take a modify. We're going to do this rotated half moon modification. So we'll start back into that first part of warrior 3, keeping the left hand on the back. And reach, and go ahead and start to look to the left. Left palm can come to the sacrum, and you can rotate the heart open, but keep your hand on your sacrum today. Since we're working with rooting, you don't need to do full rotation. Exhale, stepping wide. Let's bring our blocks around to the center one more time. And we're going to rise on up. And as we exhale, I'm going to step our body into goddess pose. Just go ahead and take the hands down to the thighs. Inhale, long spine. We'll just exhale, drop one shoulder to one side and breathe. So relaxing the pelvic floor now and enjoying this deep stretch. Inhale through center and exhale other side. Inhale through center. And then rise on up to vertical. Let's pivot the feet. So I'm actually going to move my blanket so I have a little more room on my mat so I can step a little closer, maybe 2 to 3 feet apart, and have both feet on the floor even as I lift. If my feet are too wide, my belly spills forward. So I know that's a common thing. You want to kind of shore it up so that you really can lift across the front of the pelvic bowl. And once you find that position, this time right hand to low back. Trying to adjust my microphone here. And inhale, reaching the arm up, pressing. Now really press into that back leg and reach with the front arm. See if you can bring the breath across that line. Still lift through the pelvis. As you exhale, start to descend down, starting halfway. I forgot to tell you to bring your blocks all the way around. Breathe and reach. And then as you exhale, you can drop that left hand down onto your block. And again, staying here, working this is called pyramid pose. So working this pose, pressing both feet in, feeling the movement and adjustment of your hips. And then as you're ready, if you'd like to come into that next part of the pose, and just using the block for stability again, refining the pose, dropping that left hip, right palm to sacrum now, and just gazing. A little bit of practice for rotated half moon so we can do a little bit in part 2, a little bit more strongly. And then this time we'll exhale, bringing feet together, or feet underneath the hips. And we're going to walk our palms underneath the soles of our feet. Just bend your knees as much as you need to get that pose, and then enjoy the traction you can create in this pose. And breathe, release, let the belly inflate into the pelvis on each inhalation. And just recede, just let it relax on the exhale without that contraction. One last breath. And I'm going to undo our bind and slowly walk our feet to the left and right edge of the mat. Drop the hips down and come into a squat. So I like to have the blanket underneath my heels sometimes when I come into a squat. It just creates a little extra stability so my feet really can relax. And we want to relax our pelvic floor entirely now. And so we're going to sit upright in our squat, light in our toes, reaching through the crown. And take a couple more breaths. And then finally, as you're ready, slowly coming on to your seat. All right, we've come on to our seat. I'm pivoting towards you. And we're going to take our legs out in front of us. We're going to pull that right knee into chest. And you can either stay here with this position, or you can step that right foot over the left leg. You can also stay here, or you can wrap that left leg around. And what you want to make sure you have the ability to do with either one of those postures is to be able to push that right sits bones back into the earth. So if you feel off kilter because you're too tight, go ahead and come to the layer previous so that you can still have that nice long vertical spine in this, okay? So wrapping that leg around, pressing into the sits bones. You're going to stay nice and long through this. We'll just start by inhaling that right arm up. And as you exhale, reach it behind. So create a little bit of space there. If you can't quite reach the floor, go ahead and grab a block so that it's underneath your back hand. Inhale, left arm to sky. And a couple of choices here as well. The first one is to wrap the arm around the thigh and squeeze, or you can come to the outside of that knee. And this is a little bit more of a heart stretch, this posture. So you can decide, you can rest your hand on your heart, or you can wrap it around the leg. Push into the sits bones, inhale. As you exhale, wring out the spine and the glute tissue. Each inhalation, tune into that inflating sensation. And each exhalation, support the very end with a light contraction to the center. And one more breath. Okay, and we're just going to go ahead and switch sides. So uncrossing here, extend those legs out. Little stretch forward. We'll get to counter pose in just a moment. This time left leg comes in. So I am mirroring you if you're confused by my direction. So this is left leg. It's my right leg, but we're going to say your left leg just so you can face the TV. Go ahead and step the foot over and wrap around only to your comfort and capacity. Okay. So sits bones are down. Inhale, reach left arm up and around, reaching back behind. And then choose what you want to do with the right arm, inhaling up. And as you exhale, you can hug or bring to the outside and push into the sits bones. Inhale, long spine. And as you exhale, gazing behind. Slowing that breath down so we can calm the system when we eventually arrive into our relaxation in a few poses from now. Last breath. All right, gently unwinding out of the pose. Go ahead and bring your legs forward. Keep your kneecaps and toes facing the sky. Inhale, long spine, and as you exhale, fold forward. So you can straighten those legs more if that's attainable to you. But again, we don't want to compromise our upper body just to get legs straight. So we're looking for a balanced stretch. So you do feel some stretch across the back of the body, of the legs, and also back of torso. So for most of us, slightly bent knees are required. One last breath here and forward fold. Paschimottanasana. We'll gently ease on up. We're going to come onto our backs for the rest of practice. So you might like to have a block handy, and it's not required. We're going to come into a bridge pose. I know some of you like to have a supported bridge. So I'm going to take my blanket, move it to the space where I plan to lie. I'll move my microphone out of the way here and slowly lower down onto our backs. Okay. So we'll lift our hips up from here. Go ahead and lift the hips, press into the feet. One last stretch across the legs, one last effort. Really pushing into the feet, almost scooching yourself towards the end of the mat. If you need to instead have a block underneath your hips and take this as a resting pose, go ahead and choose that. One more breath. And then exhale, slowly lower down. Pull the navel in, lift the pelvis, and come onto your backs. All right, feet heel toe to the edge of the mat. Arms come back into cactus in the same posture we visited at the beginning of class. Hey, Callie. Callie, can you go out? Out. She will not listen. All right, same posture. So let your knees, pause. Start here. Let your knees drift over to the side. Having your arms in cactus. And just rest here. Try to let this go and breathe all the way down into the pelvis still. And inhale through center. Exhale other side. Inhale through center and go ahead and bring the knees into the shoulders. And then grabbing hold of the soles of the feet. One last root stretch. Relaxing the knees into the armpits, feet above the knees. Letting go of all effort now in the pelvis and in the core, just letting your body take deep breaths. And if there's any other movement you need, if you want to rock side to side, go ahead and rock, or anything else you need before you come into rest. Otherwise, go ahead and transition your body down into relaxation. Shavasana pose, whatever that looks like for you to let go. This is a really important part of practice that people forget. It's really important to integrate, let your body integrate before we move on to the very next thing. Take a nice deep in breath through the nose. Exhale. Let your lips fall together. Let your breath find its own way to release. So as you're lying there, tune into how the breath provides this gentle vitality in the skull. It inflates like that same balloon breath. And as you exhale, feel the warm recession of the breath as it clears away any stuckness in the mind or distractions. And then drop your awareness down into the heart area and feel that same expansive quality on the in-breath. The lungs filling with air, their little spongy nature, hugging the heart. And as you exhale, that warm recession. And then dropping your awareness down into the abdomen and feeling how, when you breathe once more, that breath, like an expanding cylinder, kind of reaches down into the pelvis and the abdomen, and the exhalation recedes and lifts and contracts. Just a very gentle sensation now. Notice how your body does this on its own. It's really quite beautiful. And then as you're resting here, just surrender into that beautiful sense of strength and rootedness that you've cultivated today. You can stay as long as you like today, enjoying this rest into maybe a nap, or you can awaken and wiggle fingers and toes and come to seated. It's totally up to you. So thank you for practicing part 1 of our pelvic floor 2-part series with me. I hope you join me again for week number 3 next session. Namaste. Scooch in nice and close. And you can keep your arms kind of flatten your, my mic keeps falling off. Flatten your shoulder blades to the earth. Hello, Callie. And we'll just lift our hips from here. Okay. You can help me. Okay. This actually is. Hi. Can I help you? Stop it. That's my eyeball. Can you stop it? Hey, Callie. Can you go over here? Come here. All the way. Good girl. Of course, I got my hips up the whole time.